Uber is in the news again, and we're very lucky to be joined by our San Francisco correspondent today in New York, Hannah Kuchler. Hannah, Uber, we love it, right? It's $17 billion. It's one of the great Silicon Valley success stories. It's disrupting an entire industry, in this case, the taxi industry. What's not to like?
Well, I don't really know where to start, but I'll start with the latest news, which is that BuzzFeed reported on a private dinner where Emil Michael, who is one of the senior VPs at Uber, sort of suggested that he might need to do some opposition research on journalists, by which he was talking about, digging up dirt on critical journalists in order to sort of serve Uber's needs. Now, as you can imagine, that's not gone down well, but that's not also the only thing. There's been controversies, one after the other, about how they've treated drivers, people getting annoyed about the immense surge pricing, for example, last year in New York when it was, very stormy. And there's also recently been a lot of accusations about how they try and poach drivers from competitors like Lyft and sort of slightly unconventional methods of jumping in their cars and accosting them. So
this is why they feel some journalists have been rather oppositional, I suppose,
yes.
Antagonistic. There's been a lot of very negative headlines, but how have these particular headlines about these comments gone over?
They haven't gone over very well at all. Twitter has been alive with criticism, and Travis, who is the CEO of Uber, has come out now with a sort of Mark Andreessen style tweet storm and trying to put people in their place and apologise, but he hasn't got rid of the senior VP, and you do wonder whether this might run until he does.
So you're from Silicon Valley. We hear a lot about the culture of the Valley, good and bad, but why do you think this particular story has resonated? There are just a few remarks from one executive at a, he thought, private event.
Yeah, sure. And I think that Uber is seen as kind of, a hustler in their terms, and, perhaps a unconventional business in being having pretty heavy-handed tactics compared to other tech companies. But I do think that people wonder whether this is a little bit symptomatic of the broader industry, that when you talk about being a disruptor so much, there is something quite arrogant about it. And there is kind of perhaps a sense that they don't have enough boundaries, that if you say, well, of course traditional industries are going to hate me because I'm doing something that they don't like, you don't know quite where to stop and what becomes really unacceptable.
So I can see a few New York taxi drivers will love this news, but in practice, as you say, Travis Kalanick, the CEO, has apologized. Do you think he's done enough to stop there being any real business fallout from this?
I don't think people, millions of people across the country and the world are going to suddenly delete the Uber app. I think that it might be a kind of Amazon-style relationship where people love to bash them for being a bit bullying, but they still prefer the convenience of an app which, brings you to your door. However, in terms of the long-term reputational damage, that's hard to measure. And Uber's been very successful at raising money. Raised raised a valuation of $17 billion earlier this summer. And if they continue having a really bad reputation, that might take a hit eventually.
Right, Hannah, thank you very much.
Thank you.